Mindful Thursdays because we know that for all of us, stress is an issue. It just is for everyone on the planet, right? But especially for individuals in our autism community, whether they're parents or people who are working with individuals on the autism spectrum, but certainly individuals who are on the autism spectrum themselves are going to be dealing with more stress than, let's say, the average person. So it's important that we don't at all try to stray away from that and go, oh, stress, it's not a thing. It is. It is, and it is for all of us. And we need to learn to manage it and to manage our states so that we are healthier and can be around longer and have a more happy, productive life. So we know that mindfulness can help us to do that, but mindfulness can be a slippery little thing, right? I think a lot of us have preconceived notions. I certainly thought that mindfulness meant you're sitting in a lotus position for hours on end and thinking about white space. And I took a course in mindfulness as a parent on the autism spectrum, and it helped me with my stress. And it wasn't about sitting in a lotus position and picturing white noise. So I'm hoping that every week we can share just a little bit so that we can all take a moment and pick and choose what you like. If there's one tip that you're like, yeah, that didn't help me reduce stress, then that's not the one for you. But we're trying to give you many things to choose from. So today we're talking about power posing and or pretending that you're a superhero, whichever way you choose to look at it. But there was a study that was done recently by Carney, Cuddy, and Yap, and you can find it on PubMed, about power posing. Brief nonverbal displays affect neuroendocrine levels and risk tolerance. Okay, one of the things that they were looking at is that in the animal kingdom, that there are animals that will puff themselves up in order to display, a show of strength to deter other animals so that they're not eaten, right? And they were looking at whether with humans, if there was something to be said about that, if there was something, if there was a way to puff ourselves up to help so they looked at 3 different poses. My favorite one is the Superman pose, where you stand with your hands on your hips and your feet are apart and you puff your chest up a little bit and you stick your chin out. And if you stand this way for 2 minutes, what they discovered is that you will perform better on things that potentially cause stress. So if you're about to go into a meeting, if you're about to do an IEP or something like that, where you know that you're going to be squaring off against other people and that there's going to be some power involved and it has the potential to make you stressed and you're afraid that you're going to underperform, 2 minutes, and we've all got 2 minutes, right, to stand in this pose, and that you will actually perform better. You may have seen this. A lot of people were talking about it after it was seen on Grey's Anatomy, that there was a brain surgeon character on Grey's Anatomy that had to do a brain surgery that was going to be really trying. And so she stood in the pose, and her intern or resident came in and said, "What are you doing?" And she said, "I'm doing my Superman pose." And so the two of them stood there together to do it together. And then everybody started, but it's actually a study, and it shows that it does make a difference. Now, so there's that pose. Then there's sort of the Y pose where you're flying. I know it gets off camera, but you put your hands up and you're doing that pose. But there's another pose that they call it the CEO pose, where you sit back in your chair, put your feet up on the corner of your desk, and you put your hands behind your head as if you're relaxing and leaning back, and that is also a power pose. And that just doing that for 2 minutes, actually, it affects your performance, but it actually affects your neuroendocrine levels, and it helps you to perform better. So I offer that to you if you're having a moment. The other thing that happens, I will say this, that if you stop for a minute to do, I was doing the Superman pose in the elevator on the way up this morning, because sometimes I do that. It's not 2 minutes. It only takes me 35 seconds to come up in the elevator. But, and I think that there's, on the closed circuit, that you're being watched in the elevator, I can only do it when I'm in the elevator by myself. I don't do it when other people are in the elevator, but I think the guys and the do security in the building probably think I'm a little nutty. It's okay. It doesn't bother me. But to stand for just a couple of minutes, well, the other thing that it does, all of the poses, by virtue of where your arms are, open up your chest, which means it's easier for you to take a deep breath. And we've talked endlessly about in the mindfulness moments about the power of breath and taking a full inhale and a full exhale. And if you take, it doesn't even have to be 2 minutes to change the equation. If you take 3 full breaths, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, everything is better. Everything is more possible. We are calmer and more centered. If you imagine how many breaths it takes in 2 minutes to stand this way. So even if you don't have the ability to get in the pose because you're in an elevator full of people, or you're standing outside the meeting and you go, oh no, I forgot to do it in the parking garage. Or you don't want to do it in your kid's school parking lot before you go into the IEP, although I think it's a great thing to do. People go, what are you doing? Throw them off. At least take the breaths. But I think, like Madonna says, strike a pose. Strike a pose. And those are the 3 poses they studied, but maybe there's one that's better that they didn't come up with that's better for you. But think about something that opens up the chest and makes you feel powerful. It's funny, we just did this and I feel better than I did a couple of minutes ago, and I didn't hold the pose for 3 minutes. So 2 minutes, 2 minutes, hold a pose. And the study actually says that even 1 minute makes a difference. So there you have it.